What's up, Earth Rockers? It's your boy Shovatar here with another Castlevania 3 no-hit speedrun. Let me just get the footage started. This is Ralph only. So no companions this time, no Sypha, no Grant, no Alucard. You may wonder, why does it say Ralph when this is clearly Trevor Belmont? It's because in the Japanese version of the game, the character is referred to as Ralph C. Belmont. And because not much interesting is going to happen in level 1, as per usual, I'm going to take a little bit of time to sort of explain why that is. Basically, the Japanese version of the game was made in 1989, and the US version of the game wasn't finished until 1990, which is why there's some differences in the US version that are sort of like, kind of like objective improvements. Like there's a few graphical glitches that are present in the JP version that you don't see in the US version, and a couple of other like things like that. But back in 1989, there was some confusion regarding who exactly this character on the screen right now is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be Simon Belmont's father or grandfather or great-grandfather? Is it supposed to be like 100 years before the first game or like 200 years before the first game? It was all very like fast and loose at this point. So they weren't exactly 100% sure if this character and Christopher Belmont from Castlevania The Adventure for the original Game Boy, for example, were going to be like the same character or not. It was all very like, you know, up in the air. Nobody really knew what was going on. The Castlevania franchise has never been super concerned with continuity, at least certainly not in its first few decades. So that's why his name is Ralph here. I guess when the time came for it to be localized, they decided Ralph didn't sound like old enough. Maybe they thought it was too common of a name, too normal of a name. Although Christopher and Simon are both pretty normal names, but I guess they could also pass as a more old-timey name. So anyway, all that's to say, here he's Ralph, even though the character is actually Trevor. But because I think it's funny that he's called Ralph in the JP version of the game, both of these... Ooh, that was a mistake. Both of the videos that feature Ralph only are going to say Ralph only instead of Trevor only. It's just my own personal little joke. So yeah, level 1, very uneventful, especially on First Quest. On First Quest, level 1 is a total, like, auto-scroller, pretty much nothing to worry about, except for tiny weird movement things. I'm actually going to go back a little bit, because there's one thing that I do differently here that was a recent development, because this is actually a very new piece of footage. As of this commentary, I recorded this run about 2 weeks ago, so in contrast to like the Sypha and Alucard videos, which are all very old, this one's very new. So that first jump that I did here, that was a mistake. I meant to jump to the right. But what I do here is I jump to the right, and then throw the holy water so that it hits both of these candles and lands to intercept the gremlin as it jumps over me. And that's a new thing. I didn't do that in any of the prior pieces of footage, because that was just a new tiny optimization that I didn't know about until I reviewed the world record speedrun footage of this particular category, just to make sure I was dotting all my I's and crossing all my T's. Because the original, this is another run that I recorded multiple times. The first time I finished this run, the Ralph only JP normal mode, no-hit speedrun, it came out to like 31:45, I want to say, and I wanted to try to get sub 31, which of course I got. The final time for this run is 30 minutes and 30 seconds. But because I was going for sub 31 and I wasn't exactly sure what my margin of error would be, I just wanted to get every tiny little advantage that I possibly could. So that one specific movement where I jumped and then I threw the holy water to intercept the gremlin, that's new, but everything else in that level 1 is pretty much normal with everything else that I've already posted. So all I really want to do in level 1 is get the triple shot holy water to kill the boss. You can kill the boss without any sub-weapons, without taking any damage, but it requires a very specific positioning thing where you have to stand in one spot and like stun lock him with your whip, and it's very easy to not stand in the right place. So it's way more consistent to get holy water there, and if you're going for a no-hit, it also makes killing the turret before, let me go back actually to show you what I'm talking about. So killing this turret here, if you're going for a no-hit, it would take 4 whip swings to kill it. If you're not going for a no-hit, you can just damage boost past it, but if you're going for a no-hit like I am, you have to kill it. Holy water is good for that. I'm just explaining why I got holy water there. Anyway, here we are on level 3. Level 3, in my Sypha video, the first one of these videos I posted, I talked a lot about the owls. I guess just in case you haven't seen that video, I'll briefly go over it again. I won't spend as much time talking about it. The owls are a big problem if you want to go for a no-hit, because they're the first major source of randomness in the run. Their behavior patterns after they spawn are predictable and manipulable, but when they spawn is random, and if they spawn at the same time or if they spawn in a weird configuration, they can mess you up. So that's why I'm playing super slow here, just waiting for them all to spawn and killing them one at a time, is because you can go through this whole owl gauntlet without getting hit if you are super lucky, but if you're not lucky and you get a bad spawn pattern, then you're going to get put in a position where if you keep on trying to move forward, one of them is going to hit you, almost guaranteed. So the smart thing to do there if you're going for a no-hit is to just play slow, respect them super hard, and just kill every single owl as it spawns. Another reason that that's good is because it increases the number of things you've killed with the cross, and I want a triple shot cross for the end boss of level 3, and I'm going to hold on to that until I think the end of level 5. I don't remember when exactly I swap out the cross for the holy water. It might not be until level 7, actually. I should know this, considering I just got this footage, but right now I'm working on the second quest footage for JP Trevor only, so my memory is a little bit mixed up with what I'm doing right now. Suffice to say, this is much simpler. Second quest in the Japanese version of the game isn't as big of a deal as second quest in the US version of the game is, but it can still create a lot of problems, especially if you're not going for a no-hit, which I'm not going to be doing in any of my second quest footage. Ironically, letting yourself take damage means you kind of have to go, opens you up to going for a lot of stuff that's a lot harder. Because there's a lot of stuff that's difficult to do, but you can just say, oh, well, I can't do that because that would involve me taking a hit. I have to do the, slower, safer thing because I don't want to take any damage. That's kind of the thing about the no damage runs that's sort of paradoxical, or sort of not what you would expect, is that they can kind of be easier than the alternative in a lot of cases. Not all the time, but sometimes. Anyway, so I stopped for a second here because so the reason I kill this guy and then stop, it's not a mistake, it's because I'm thinking about sub-weapon drops, and I've talked about sub-weapon drops before. The short version of the sub-weapon drop problem is that every enemy has a random chance to drop a small heart. But the 5th time that happens, it drops a sub-weapon instead. And for Trevor/Ralph, that is a gigantic problem, because you are going to be using the holy water a lot of the time, which the holy water, if you use it on a bulky enemy like a turret or a knight, is almost guaranteed to cause an item to drop. And secondly, because any sub-weapon, because you're going to have the cross or the holy water the whole time, I'm actually going to go back for a second as I describe this. Because you have the cross or the holy water the whole time, pretty much any sub-weapon that drops is going to be a sub-weapon that you can pick up and that you don't want, because the cross and the holy water can't randomly drop until level 8, which is really late in the game. And if a sub-weapon tries to drop on the 5th drop, but it's a sub-weapon you already have, it turns into a small heart and you don't have to worry about it. And you might be thinking, well, why is it a big deal if stuff randomly drops sub-weapons? Because, look at how far away all these enemies are that I kill here. I have plenty of time to react to sub-weapon drops from any of these enemies. And that's true, I do have a lot of time to react, but let's say that I'm in this situation right here. Let's say I killed this spider, and then a sub-weapon drops, right? So what I would have to do is I would have to stop, watch for the sub-weapon, so know that I'm on the 5th drop, which is another thing you have to keep track of in your head, know when a sub-weapon is ready to come, when it's due to happen. Then I would have to visually register the sub-weapon, see it, stop dead in my tracks for long enough to do that, which is slow playing, then jump over it, and then keep going. And that would mess up this pattern, because as you can see, this area with the spiders is all scripted out specifically. Watch what happens here. So I go up the stairs, I jump, I throw across, kills the first spider, kills the second spider, kills the third spider, and sets up the spawn perfectly that I can get underneath this 4th spider, and kills the 5th spider before it can shoot a spider that would hit me on this last staircase. So this whole sequence is very specific, and if I have to slow down or stop here, then the spawn pattern timings get completely screwed, and this whole section of level 3 becomes extremely slow. So you can't just play around sub-weapons non-stop, because if you do, then you're going to lose a ton of time. So in the context of like a casual playthrough or anything without any kind of time limit, like, yeah, the sub-weapon drops are not a big deal, but if you're going for a specific time limit, or if you just want to have footage that doesn't have you like stutter stepping all over the place, like there's something wrong with you, then you have to keep track of the sub-weapon drops in your head, and it will mean that you are going to end up accidentally picking up sub-weapons you don't want a lot of times, which in a run like this is like an instant restart. So random sub-weapon drops are a gigantic problem, and I would say for any run that's just Ralph or just Trevor, no exaggeration, random sub-weapon drops are the cause of probably like 90% or more of resets. And you'll see parts later in the run where the random sub-weapons are an even bigger problem. But that stuff with the spiders is just like an example of when just wait for the sub-weapon, just play super slow the whole time and stop after you kill every enemy. Like, you can't just do that the whole time in every situation, or else it screws up the rest of the route. Anyway, so here's the first Cyclops fight. Very simple and very fast with the triple shot cross. This is actually pretty specific, what I do here. So what a speedrun will do is a speedrun will get up into his face, so that way the crosses hit him faster and you can get them back faster. But the problem is that if you're super close to him, there's a chance he might charge you. Actually, there's a very small chance he charges you no matter what if it's the level 3 Cyclops. So I stay far away from him just in case he gets like the 1% chance to charge. I can jump up onto that platform to the left and avoid it. So I just throw 3 crosses here. And then I specifically want to bait him and then back up and then turn around and jump quickly enough that I can catch that cross that I jump into here. So that way I can throw 2 more crosses at him here. So but I have to catch both of those crosses to make that work. Then I can jump up here, whip him twice, and he's done. So it's simple and it's consistent, but there is a slight chance of something going wrong. If you don't make the jump to catch those 2 crosses correctly, then you end up killing him slightly slower because you have to whip. You have to wait for another cross to get to him, or you have to like whip another time. It's just sort of messy. So much easier than an actual optimized like speedrun kill of that boss would be, but still has a potential for things to go wrong. And that's the case really with pretty much everything in this run is like that, or it's like a lot of the stuff that I do isn't as hard as an optimized speedrun would be, but it's not like I'm playing on autopilot. You kind of can't autopilot this game. That's the other thing about Dracula's Curse that I've seen other people point out before, is that you cannot just autopilot this game. Even though a lot of it is very consistent, you have consistent movement speed, consistent whip swing rhythm, consistent jumping arcs, you can't just play with your brain turned off because of sub-weapon drops. Because when you're on 4 drops, like I'm pretty sure I'm on right now, every single enemy that I kill has a chance to drop a sub-weapon. So now I actually do have to do what I was talking about before and keep an eye out. And I'm going to go back for just a second to talk about this, because this is very specific. So these sword guys have a very aggravating movement / attack pattern. Their behavior involves like basically trying to back away from you, then stabbing, and then going back towards you to try to... Basically, if they think you're moving towards them, this is how I think of it in my head. If they think you're moving towards them, they'll back up, and if they think that you are moving away from them, they'll go towards you. So what I do here is I go down the stairs, I walk towards him, basically to get him to start backing up, and then what I do is they'll like back up, and then they'll attack, and then they'll go forward again. So what I want to do is get him to walk to the edge of this platform here until he backs up. Then, right as he's attacking, I jump off, so that way I land and I kill him, and now he sees me coming towards him again, and he's backing up again, but I land and I kill him before he can back up far enough that he'll attack me again. So if I'm too fast here, then he won't be in the position that I need him to be. He'll still be like at the bottom of those stairs and I'll fall on top of him. But if I'm too slow, then he'll back up far enough that he'll be able to get another attack off. So it's a very tiny thing. It's literally like super fast, but it's also a very specific manipulation of his behavior. And without the holy water or the stopwatch, there's really no other good way to deal with that guy. So that's why I did that little pause there. That wasn't like a mistake. That was a specific decision to manipulate him. And I don't have the holy water here because one of the big differences between the JP version and the US version is that in the US version, you pretty much need the holy water if you want to kill the Cyclops quickly. But in the JP version, you pretty much need the cross if you want to kill the Cyclops quickly. And so the Cyclops, this is what's so funny about the Cyclops, is that it's such a problematic boss at high level play because it's sort of random, and because in the US version it can be pretty demanding in terms of your reaction and your positioning. But it also is such an annoying boss to fight that it sort of dictates... it's such a difficult boss to kill efficiently that it sort of dictates your entire sub-weapon route. And you can see I'm doing here what I said I didn't want to do, but now I don't have a choice but to do it. Which is I'm waiting after every time I kill one of these enemies because I know that I'm on 4 drops, or I'm pretty sure I am at this point, and so I don't have a choice now but to slow play. But here it's not a big deal because the rhythm that I go through this room doesn't really matter. I can afford to stop after all those kills and then keep going, and it doesn't influence everything. But it would have been a problem if I had to do that. If I stopped for the spiders, it would have been a problem. Or back when I jumped down the stairs to kill that guy with the sword, if he had dropped a sub-weapon, that would have been a problem, because the way that movement... I'm just going to go back and show this, actually. The way that the movement goes there is like I have to land right in front of him. Yeah, like this guy right here. If this guy drops a sub-weapon, then I just need to be super on my toes to register that he does that. I can't... He actually died pretty far away from me here, so I guess this isn't a great illustration of what I'm talking about, but suffice to say that sometimes, like, you guys are just gonna have to trust me that sometimes those random sub-weapon drops will jump scare you, and you will pick them up and you don't mean to, and you will have to randomly reset the run. And it is the most frustrating thing in the entire game. And this is a game that has a lot of frustrations, so it's got strong competition. Anyway, now we're on the mini-boss of level 4. Extremely easy to kill if you have triple shot cross or triple shot holy water, or really any good sub-weapon just melts. You pretty much... I don't think I even had to duck under that snake. I think if it dies, then the snake loses its ability to do damage to you. So super easy, super simple. Going through this part with the cross is also super easy and super simple, and this is a good example of when sub-weapons can, like, screw you over and force you to play, like, super slow, is that here I kill this guy and I had to stop, because if you just keep going and you jump and he drops a sub-weapon, then you will pick it up. So I had to stop there to make sure that I could watch for him getting a sub-weapon and, like, register that happened. So this is what's so incredibly annoying about the sub-weapon thing, is that even if it doesn't happen, like, you don't know when it's going to happen. So you have to play around it no matter what, and you end up losing a bunch of time for nothing. Like, all those little pauses that I did before were pointless because nothing actually dropped, but I had to do it because something could have dropped. So if I was an actual speedrunner, if I was actually going for, like, a super optimal time, that would drive me absolutely insane. I don't know how anybody does that in this game. Well, I do know how people do that in this game because I've done it, but it's just very, very annoying. Another example, by the way, of how random sub-weapons can screw you over is this room, because if that first bird drops a sub-weapon, like, let's say he drops a sub-weapon here, I would have just jumped into it and picked it up, but, like, I've made the point has been made. It's annoying. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not gonna point it out every single time. This is pretty specific here. This jump down to, like, catch that sword guy. Because if you're too slow there, he'll get a chance to attack you, or if you don't jump off at exactly the right point on this platform, then you'll land too late, and he'll be able to get an attack off. And I think you can see him starting the first few frames. Yeah, his sword. See how his sword goes up there? I think that's, like, the first frame of his attack animation. So, I did make it in time, but that's a very specific. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Had to go deal with something, but it's all good. Anyway, this room is another example of when sub-weapon drops can screw you over, because, and again, it's like, Just stop if if an enemy's going to die in front of you, but like every enemy dies in front of you, like look at this here. If either the skeleton or the ghost drop a subweapon and I keep walking, I walk into the subweapon. And I think what's so annoying about it is that these videos are meant as to sort of showcase high-level gameplay, but a key word there is showcase. And if the footage is full of me like stutter stepping and stopping and starting like there's something wrong with me, then it's really sort of not... I don't like it. It bothers me. It's sort of like, it's almost like an OCD thing where like I know in my head there's no such thing as perfect footage, but every little weird imperfection in movement like that kind of bugs me a bit. So every Cyclops fight is different because of the terrain of the arena and because of the other bosses you have to fight in each of their respective monster mashes. And there's a tiny little detail of this fight that I want to point out, because, I mean, chances are you're not thinking anything close to this, but you might be wondering why, when he starts to walk away from me here, why don't I jump after him to hit him? Because what I do instead is I walk off the edge and then stop and then throw more crosses. Why not jump after him here and then whip him as he's running away, or like throw another cross as he's running away and then jump and whip again to hit him? Because look at how far away from me he is, right? Like, he's so far away, like, it would be safe to do that, right? Well, yes and no, because in this specific instance it would have been, because of the movement pattern he chose, but like right here, come on, go back. All right. Like right here, as he's starting to walk away from me, I actually don't know how long he's going to do that. Because the Cyclops' behavior is not 100% consistent. There's just these weird little quirks, and one of the things he does that's not 100% consistent is when he's walking away from you like this, sometimes he'll randomly turn back around and start walking towards you, and you don't know when he's going to do that. So if I had chosen to jump after him after this last whip swing, chances are I would have been okay, but sometimes he will decide to turn around and walk back towards you. And I don't know why. I don't know what governs his behavior, but that's a risk there, and there's so many other random things that can trip you up in this run, I just didn't need one more. In the JP version of the game, the Cyclops can't walk through those elevated platforms. He's just stuck between them, walking back and forth. In the US version, he'll walk through the platforms and hit you. So I don't know if the Cyclops' movement direction has something to do with like whether he thinks he can run into you or not, or whether you're on the platform or not. I honestly don't know. I of course tried, but I couldn't find a pattern. Anyway, getting through these two turrets is tricky in a no-hit. That looked pretty scary, but it's really not that bad. Let me go back and explain this one turret at a time. And I'm not going to do this with everything, but this part's important. So normally what you would do in like an optimized, in like a speed run, is you would try to damage boost forward off of one of those fireballs and then just jump through the turret. Not an option for me, so I just kill this first one with 2 cross throws. This, by the way, is another great example of when a random subweapon drop can fuck you over, because if that turret drops a subweapon, then I have to sit here and wait for it to despawn before I jump up on that platform, which like kills like 3 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds. So for this next turret, so for the first one, it's pretty simple. Then for the second one, I throw as I jump, then it hits it once, hits the edge of the screen, hits it twice. Then I whip it once after a jump, and then whip it again after a jump, and land right here. So that way I'm not landing inside of a subweapon if it drops, but I'm also close enough to the second platform that I can barely get on top of it by jumping over the subweapon if it drops. So even here, I'm still playing around the subweapon this whole time. And there's a visual cue that the way that I do this is there's a visual cue that I look for to time those whip swings, where I look for the first little separation point on this spike, like the spot between the first and, oh no, I'm sorry, the spot between the second and third tile of this like spike platform. I jump, land to get, well actually what I do first is I will jump to get the 5 hearts up there, because I want the 5 hearts that this cross is gonna make available for me by killing that torch. So I jump right there as the center of my body is above like that seam between the first and second of those 2 blocks that make up the spike platform. I jump, I whip, then I go forward a little bit and jump again and then whip. I don't immediately jump and whip after the first one. That was like that's like an important detail, because if you immediately jump and whip after you land after the first one, then you'll just fall in the pit. So it's just like a very, very specific positioning trick here to make this work. So whenever like you see anybody in any kind of challenge run, if it's a no hit, if it's a no death, if it's a speed run, whenever you see them do something like this that looks like insane and way too risky, almost all of the time it's because there's a specific setup going into it that involves looking for a specific visual cue to make something work. So that's just a good example of that kind of thing. And it's really, that's one of the things about doing these runs that I think is actually really fun and really cool, is figuring that stuff out so you can do stuff like that that looks really risky and really dangerous, but also looks really cool. And you can figure out, oh, it's not magic. It's not like, they're not just like praying that everything goes well. It's a specific decision. And I want to point out something there that you're going to see later on in this level also. One reason, so there's two reasons why in the JP version you would want the cross over the holy water, because typically the holy water is the most overpowered thing in the game by a long shot, and in the JP version, that's only like half true. In the US version, it's 100% true, and I'm going to go back and point something out here. So the reason I threw that cross there at the top of this platform was specifically to hit that fuzzball and slow down its movement, because if you just let it go without delaying it at all, then by the time you're like right here trying to go up the stairs, it'll reach you and hit you. So you have to hit it and slow it up somehow if you want to get through this room as quickly as possible, and that's the way that I chose to do it. Just wanted to point that out real quick. So yeah, the cross is better in the JP version because number one, you can kill the Cyclops quickly with the cross as opposed to with the holy water. You actually can't do the holy water kill on the Cyclops in the JP version that you would want to do and that you would do in the US version because of the platforms. Because what happens in the US version is you bait the Cyclops into running into one of the elevated platforms, and then you throw the holy water so that the fire hits the Cyclops' head. In the JP version, the fact that he doesn't go through the platforms means that you can't do that. So the fastest way to kill the Cyclops in the JP version is with the cross. That's one reason. The second reason why the cross is better in the JP version is because like turrets and knights have less health, so it's more viable to kill them with something other than the mega damage that the holy water does. And specifically, crosses will go through axe knights in the JP version when they do not go through axe knights in the US version. So not only do US axe knights have 2 more HP, they take 8 hits instead of 6, but they also don't get penetrated by the cross. So you can't do like what I'm about to do here, throwing 3 cross. I think I'm going to throw 3 crosses to kill this knight. Yeah, 1, 2, oh no, then I whip him twice. Well, whatever. That did 6 damage. If this is the US version, that in total would have done 4 damage, and he would have still had 4 HP that I would have had to, like, lawn mow my way through to get to the staircase. So those are the 2 big reasons why the cross is better in the Japanese version, because things aren't as tanky, and because the Cyclops' behavior is different due to his interaction with the environment. So it's these weird small things that make a difference. So here's a big time swing in this run is whether the birds behave in level 5. And here I got a good bird pattern both times. Not perfect. And because I'm just going to explain this. So nobody knows how the birds work, as far as I can tell. If they do, they're not talking about it. You really don't know what the birds are going to do. And here that's a big problem because in order to get to the boss of this level, you have to go up these stairs and jump across all these platforms, and you can't really do that while there are birds flying around because they're just going to hit you. Like, as soon as you get into a position where you're trying to make a jump and you can't possibly respond to them, that's the moment they're going to choose to swoop directly at you. So the smartest thing to do here is to just kill both of them as soon as you can, but this first one can just, like, fuck around up in the sky for a while and do like the big swoops where he doesn't actually get low enough to be hit. Here he only did it once before he lowered himself, which was good. And then this one, optimally what would happen here is I would actually catch him with this cross, but he just didn't swoop low enough for that to happen. Totally random. You just don't know what he's going to do. But then the second time he was low enough to get hit by it. So those birds are like the biggest RNG factor of the time in this run. Because if you're going for a no-hit, it just doesn't make sense to not kill them. You have to kill them, and you have to kill them like before you start doing all the platforming. But you don't know how long it's going to take for them to swoop down and become hittable. Like, that can honestly take... Those 2 birds combined, if they both give you bad patterns, that can kill like 8 or 10 seconds, and I'm not exaggerating. Like I've gotten like those weren't perfect birds, but considering how bad it can be, I would never complain about birds like that. Yeah, if I'm ending the level at 240 or higher, I honestly cannot complain. And to be clear, the in-game timer is not 100% accurate. So you could be getting like 240 in one run and then getting like 242 on another run, and you might think you're 2 seconds faster, but in reality you'll only be like a couple frames different. And I don't know why that is, but it's just a quirk of the timer and how it works. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the Frankenstein boss here. So if you have the US Holy Water that does damage super fast, you can just kill this guy pretty much before he even gets a chance to do damage to you. But in the JP version of the game, the Holy Water does its damage more slowly, so he is alive longer, even though he has less health than he has in the US version and the JP version. So I need the cross to kill him safely. I stand here, throw it 3 times, and then jump back up into this little pocket. Because if you're this far over to the right, then none of the falling blocks will hit you. As you can see, 2 falling blocks land just to the left of me, but if you're all the way to the right, then the falling blocks will never hit you. So you just throw 3 crosses, jump into the safe spot, wait out the attacks, jump down again, and then finish him off. And he can randomly... And then, well, actually, it's a little bit more complicated than that because I'm also baiting out his rock throw attack, because usually he'll have rocks that fall down, then throw a rock directly at you. But I just jumped over it there, which is usually you can rely on him to do that, but very rarely he will throw a second block at you. And if that happens, you just like get hit by it. Like you can't plan around that, because if you stay up there waiting for a second block to get thrown, then he's just gonna like send more rocks down from the ceiling, and you're not gonna get a chance to hit him. So you just kind of have to hope he doesn't throw a second block at you there. It's very frustrating, but it's a very uncommon variation in its pattern. But this is what I mean about this run being frustrating, where it's like every little thing that you take for granted. Like, of course, the Frankenstein has falling rocks and then throws a rock at you. That's like his obvious pattern. No, actually, if you do 100 attempts, I don't know if I did 100 attempts exactly. I may have. If you do like 100, play the game 100 times, and it turns out he's going to do something different. Very frustrating. So on first quest, that whole area with the birds and the fishmen is not that bad, especially because you can kill this first bird before he even gets a chance to move if you come in with the cross, which is yet another reason why the cross is good to have at this point in the run. I throw a cross here just in case the fishman decides to spawn in front of me. Instead, he spawns behind me, but this same cross will also serve to kill the fishman behind me. So this is a really good thing that the cross does for you here, is it could have killed it if it kills the fishman there, whether he spawns in front of me or behind me. And here I just have to hope that the bird cooperates, and he does. And then after I jump over the holy water, once I see that other fishman spawning behind me, I know I can relax for a little bit until I get close to the waterfall. And here I'm running instead of jumping here because I'm waiting to see that last fishman spawn. Because if you just keep jumping there and you get a bad fishman spawn, you'll just jump into a fish. So it's random, but it's not so random that you can't sort of play around it. The cost, as always, is time. The cost, as always, is having to play slow to play around the randomness, which is frustrating, but not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, that kill on that knight there, and then the kill on the turret there, those are great examples of how the knights and the turrets being weaker enable the cross to be viable. Because if they had their like massive tanky HP from the US version, then you would need the holy water to kill them in any semblance of a civilized span of time. And I didn't kill the knight back there because I didn't have to. I just needed him to be hit stunned long enough that I could get up those stairs and get away from him. This part's pretty scary just because you have to... It doesn't seem like it would be a problem, but landing here and then throwing the cross and then ducking and whipping is a lot of stuff to do in a short period of time. And if this was the US version, when the fireballs in the US version fire way faster. So I wouldn't do this in the US version, number one, because I'd have the holy water here, so my movement would be completely different. And number two, I would never be able to do all these inputs before the fireball reaches me. So this is a little bit scary, and I contemplated phasing that out of the route there. because I lost a couple runs to not ducking in time and like not whipping in time, but I decided to keep it. I felt like I had made enough compromises at that point. So just like 6B, 6D on first quest is super simple. If you just jump in a certain pattern, then your falling whip swings will always catch the fishman, because they spawn far enough away from you that but the trick though is to react to the timing, not react to seeing them. Because if you only jump when you see them, then sometimes they actually will be too close to you. But if you jump like in the rhythm that you like know they spawn, then you'll always be in the air falling, ready to hit them before you don't even have to like watch out for them and try to react to them spawning. You'll just always be ready to hit them. If you jump in a particular rhythm and then you whip as you fall for every single jump, it doesn't become like a time, it doesn't become like a reaction test, it just becomes a timing test, which is much easier to get through. That's also a really big sub-weapon drop danger zone because you're killing a ton of enemies and they're all right in front of you. But fortunately, I was able to kill this. The one that actually dropped the sub-weapon was far enough away from me that I was able to react to it, which is another benefit of jumping proactively instead of reactively, is they'll die further away from you, which gives you more time to react to the sub-weapon drop. So lots of stuff. There's a lot that goes into 6D. This is actually a slightly slower Hydra kill than would technically be optimal, but for strange reasons. So it seems like a super fast... I mean, that's still a really fast kill, actually. I'm pretty happy with that. But the reason it's sort of technically slow is because 3 crosses on the screen plus the Hydras and the fire breath generates a lot of lag. So speedruns do this slightly differently. They do it where you try not to generate any lag. But this is actually pretty simple. You have a really wide margin to jump over this head. Like, as you can see, I'm like pretty much 100% inside the head of the first Hydra, but I'm not taking a hit because the hitbox is technically in the like left half of it. So I'm fine here. I throw 2 crosses at this Hydra, and then the third cross should also be hitting it. I think it is barely scraping it. It should be anyway. Then I just whip the Hydra next to the platform until it dies, turn around, 1 more cross to finish off the left Hydra, and that's the boss fight. Super simple, super consistent. It's pretty easy to kill the Hydra in the JP version of the game. The pattern is super consistent, and the location of the Hydra, the fact that they both spawn around the same platform the first time every time puts them in like a perfect location to get killed super fast. The Hydra's only really a big problem in US second quest, but I'll get to that. Now we're on level 7. I'm finally going to drop the crucifix and pick up the holy water. I also want to point out real quick that this jump here to kill the skeleton is really close and really hard, and it's really easy to fuck up. But you want to do it because this platform that's descending right now starts descending when you're on that low, on like the floor before it. So you need to get down, you want to get down there as quickly as possible so that way it gets into position for it to be jumped on as quickly as possible. So jumping down to the skeleton there is actually, even though it's risky, it's necessary to save time. And this right here is something that I saw the current world record holder in this category, Ohan, do, and it absolutely blew my mind. I had no idea this was possible. And this looks really close and really tight and really scary, and that's because it is. I'm pretty consistent with it now, but it took a lot of practice to get to that level of consistency. And there's a specific visual cue that I look for, which is when the platform, when like the middle of the platform is right there, like right when the middle of the platform overlaps with like the bottom, like the topmost line of the block that it's underneath right now, that's when I jump. Like when it's so you see how, actually I have an even better indicator for you, that pillar to the left of it that's made of a bunch of bricks, when the center of this platform lines up with the center of like the seam between those bricks in the pillar to the left of it, that's a good time to jump. And then just immediately jump back over and throw the holy water as you're moving, so that way it intercepts the fireball. So that's the only advice I have. It's just really hard, but it saves a ton of time. It saves so much time I would never even consider doing anything that crazy unless it was a big time save and it prevented a lot of headaches, which ultimately it does. So I really like that little piece of movement. I'm almost completely certain it's unintentional, but it's very cool. So this next part, in the Grant video, I mentioned this stage being a total pain in the ass, and it really is, for several reasons. For one reason, because you're killing all these things with holy water, you really have to look out for sub-weapon drops constantly. And also because the position of these two knights up here is not 100% consistent. Depending on how long it took you to get through the rest, get through like the turrets underneath you, which can be variable because if a sub-weapon drops, you want to jump over it, and if a sub-weapon doesn't drop, it's just like a double or triple shot, you walk through it. So depending on if and when and where the sub-weapon drops, like the positions of those two knights up top will be different, and just depending on their random behavior and random decisions of like what axe throw they're going to do, it'll be different. So the two axes on 7B are a big problem because their positions are so random, and you can get a good position there. I got an okay position there. Normally you wouldn't want that second knight to be as close to you as it ended up being, but that was okay overall. And this last part with the birds and the red skeletons is a big danger zone for sub-weapon drops, which is actually what's nice about this part. I'm going to go back here, is that so there are 6 things to kill here, 4 turrets and 2 knights with the holy water. And what's nice about that is that it means that you can pretty much guarantee a sub-weapon drop on this stage. Because remember, sub-weapons drop on every 5th small heart drop, and killing something with the holy water pretty much guarantees it's going to drop something. So you can get all the way up from a single shot to a triple shot here, and you can clear the sub-weapon before you get to this first room of 7C. And here you'll notice every time I kill one of these birds, I'm pretty much jumping into it and then jumping under where it died. So this is a big danger zone for random. Like if a sub-weapon dropped right here, there's nothing I could do to avoid it. I wouldn't even register it was there fast enough. So clearing the sub-weapon on 7B with all the turrets and the knights makes this part much less stressful. So that's what's nice about it. The thing that's bad about it is just the fact that the knights sometimes don't end up where you want them to be. But generally it's pretty nice that they're there. 7B is also really important because the fact it sort of gives you a chance to keep track of your sub-weapon drops again if you've lost count, because at the end of level 6 you're killing all those fishmen. It's easy to lose track of what drop you're on, but at the end of 7B you will both clear a sub-weapon and you'll know what your item drop count is, which can be good going into level 8 because, well, it's really important for level 9, but I'll have to explain that when I actually get to level 9. So this is the third and final monster mash. Very simple. The mummies, as always, are very easy to kill with the holy water or with the cross, with anything, really. This is another Cyclops fight, like level 4, but the difference here is that I have enough space that I don't have to jump up on a platform to kill him. I can literally just bait him and then hit him over and over again until he dies. Very simple. And now we get the devil. The devil in the JP version of the game is pretty tricky to kill quickly, but I have a specific thing that I do here. I throw 3 holy waters, then I throw 3 more holy waters, then back up, then throw 3, and then throw 3. And I kill him just as he starts to jump, so that could have been a little bit faster. The trick is to maximize the amount of time he spends on the ground. In the US version of the game, the devil is trivial to kill quickly because his jumps are very slow, and he spends more time on the ground between them. The JP devil jumps very quickly, so the reason I'm like throwing all those holy waters is to do damage, obviously, but I'm trying to throw them at a specific timing to like stall him as he's landing and keep him on the ground as long as possible. So you kind of have to do, you can't just autopilot, you have to come up with a specific strat for holy water there. And I've got a couple patterns there that work. There's that one where I throw 3, that I throw 6, and then I back up, then I throw 6 more. And there's another one that I've showcased in previous videos that's like slightly different. But that's all to say that the JP Devil, killing the JP Devil quickly is not trivial. It's very difficult. Level 8 is basically an auto-scroller. There's almost nothing in level 8 that can trip you up in either first quest or second quest, even if you're going for a no-hit. Well, actually, that's not technically true. The movement through this room is tricky because you're dealing with a lot of these sword guys who can move pretty fast. But I have visual cues that I'm looking for. Like I jump and I jump and whip as soon as I get up the stairs. Then when I'm right here at the edge of this pillar, I jump and whip again. And then when I'm like 100% above this block, or when I'm like above this block, I jump and whip again to kill the last one. So this is, I say it's trivial, but it's, what I mean when I say trivial is I mean there's no randomness. Like, you just need specific visual cues for getting through all the enemies efficiently, and it's pretty simple. There are a couple of knights coming up who can do random things, but the random things they do aren't typically a big deal. But this is a level where you're going to lose a lot of time for doing a no-hit, because you do kind of have to respect like these knights more than you would have to do if this was not a no-hit. And I think I must have known I was due for a sub-weapon there. That's the only reason I can think of as for why I'd like stay down on that lower platform there. But pretty simple, slow, but no real big potential points of failure there. I did lose a couple of runs on level 8 to these lower blobs, just because I wanted to do like a jumping holy water throw instead of standing still and throwing holy water to kill them just to save a little bit of time. But that means that, like, that's easy to screw up. It's easy to jump too late and have your holy water not hit them, or like jump too early. So it's easy compared to 7 and compared to a lot of the other levels in the game, but it's not a total snooze fest. Here's the last potential point of failure in level 8 is jumping over this knight here. And the reason this is tricky, even though it's like really, well, actually that was pretty, okay. So normally, jumping over a knight like this should be trivial, but it can be tricky because of the lag. But here the game barely lagged. The game usually lags there because of the falling blocks. But there, I guess I just got lucky. I don't know. I feel like the game is supposed to lag more there. That's weird. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't, I guess. This is a very, very basic Grim Reaper no-hit. With the Holy Water, very safe, very simple. The only thing about this that's tricky is the timing for phase 1, because you want to make sure that you can throw the first Holy Water so that it catches him here on the floor. But you also want to get off of the platform quickly enough to dodge all the scythes. So that's the only part of this that's tricky, and I have a specific visual cue that I use for this. As soon as he goes up to the top of his like first little movement, that's when I throw it. I just throw it, walk off. The scythes have now spawned and are now targeting the spot that I used to be. So now I'm free to get in position, throw more holy water, and keep him stun locked on the floor and kill him. So that's one of the oldest pieces of tech that I learned for this game, is how to consistently kill the Grim Reaper without taking damage. And then this is extremely simple. I think there's slightly faster ways to do this, but I'm so used to this particular strat with the holy water that I really don't care. I'd rather just have this be 100%, like, not literally, I couldn't literally do it blindfolded, but I could almost do it blindfolded. Just totally consistent. Now we're coming up on level 9, and level 9 is a big problem. It's a big problem in a casual playthrough. It's a big problem in a no-hit. So this first part here is Dracula's Curse's Igor Gauntlet, or Hunchback Gauntlet, and instead of Hunchbacks, it's Gremlins. And let's see if you guys have been paying attention to my previous commentary. What do you think is the problem with this? So this seems super easy, right? You just jump and you kill the gremlins. What do you think is the problem with this stage? Let's just all write it down in our notebooks. What do you think the problem with 9.1 is? Why do you think 9.1 is an issue? Even though, like, it's perfectly consistent. Well, it's not 100% consistent, but, like, I know exactly what to do with all of the spawn, with, like, both of the spawning patterns to never get hit by the gremlins. So why is this a problem? Well, here's why it's a problem. Because every single enemy that you kill dies right in front of you. So if any of these enemies drop a sub-weapon, you're going to get it. And this is not a part of the game where you can afford to lose your sub-weapon, because you want Holy Water for 9-2, which I'll explain when we get to it. So if you are due for a sub-weapon drop here, that's really, really bad, because there's a very high chance that your run is just over. And that's also why 7B, the stage with all the knights and the turrets, is so important, because that's, you are now keeping track of your sub-weapon drops, and optimally you would get another sub-weapon drop towards the end of level 8 to make absolutely sure that it's clear for 9-1, because you cannot go into 9-1 being on like 3 or 4 drops. You want the last sub-weapon drop to have been as close to 9-1 as possible, because if a sub-weapon drops here, you will get it. And like, you cannot slow play this stage. Like, can you fucking imagine? Like, stopping after every single one of these kills would completely screw up the pattern. It would take forever. You would lose so much time. It would lose all of its beautiful consistency. It's just a nightmare. So that's why 7B going into level 8, that's why sub-weapon drops are so important there, because you want to... It's good to know your sub-weapon, your drop count going into level 8, so you can set up a sub-weapon drop late until level 8 with like those 2 knights before the Grim Reaper, so that way you can be sure to go into level 9 without a sub-weapon. And if you are really desperate, what you can do actually is you can... This last knight here that I jumped over has enough health that if you throw a holy water at him, he's pretty much guaranteed to drop an item. So let's say like you get to level 8, let's say you get like here and you're on 4 item drops and you're like, shit, I'm about to go into 9-1 on 4 item drops. It's slow, but it's actually smart to kill the knight guy here with holy water to clear the sub-weapon before 9-1. Because going into 9-1 due for a sub-weapon is just begging to lose your run. So this is what I mean when I say that the sub-weapon drops are a gigantic deal, to the point that I would almost describe them as like the primary mechanic of the run, like the thing that you are dealing with and worried about most constantly. But that's the other thing about the holy water that makes it overpowered and what makes it important, is that the fact that bulky things dying to the holy water have a high chance to drop items means the holy water lets you like control your item drops, which no other sub-weapon lets you do. So 9-2, I'm actually going to let this play out once and then kind of go back and explain it. So 9-2 is dangerous. This first turret, it can decide to shoot early and kill your run. The second turret lets me pass. The third turret lets me pass, and this guy goes over my head. Perfect. And now this fourth turret is the biggest problem, but he gets a slow pattern and lets me pass. Okay. So there are 2 turrets that can end your run here. And there's nothing you can really do about it. The first one is this one. Well, let me rephrase that. There's nothing you can do about it without severely slowing down your route through the stage. Like, obviously, if you super slow play, you could just kill all these turrets one at a time while dodging the gargoyles, and like you won't get hit, but that's not what I want to do here. So if you're trying to go through the stage at a brisk pace, that first one, if he decides to shoot super early, he will just hit you, and there's nothing you can do about it. The second turret, if he decides to shoot early, you can wait there and play around it. Here he decided to shoot late, so I just walked past him. This third guy, same story. If he decides to shoot early, you can play around it and you can just like kill the next gargoyle that spawns instead of avoiding it. But here he also decided to shoot late, so I was able to go right past it. If he had decided to shoot early, I probably would have had to sit on the platform that I was just on and intercept the turrets and then kill the gargoyle, but instead I can go right past the gargoyle. And then the biggest problem is the fourth turret coming up here. And that's why I wait here for a second, because I want to get to the turret as quickly as possible. I don't know exactly when the turrets start their invisible timer, the random invisible timer that decides when they start shooting. Because the way that it works is that once the turret like starts to exist, an invisible timer will count down, and when that timer runs out, then it'll start shooting the fireballs. But the length of that timer is random. And my theory was that as soon as I see it, that's when the timer starts. So I want to get over to it as quickly as possible to try to intercept it with holy water, which is what I do here. But in order to make that happen, I need to not wait for the gargoyle. So I stop here just long enough, and when I'm on this stair here, you'll notice that the fourth turret has not spawned in yet, which in my theory, I don't know if this is true, this is just like what I think, how I think it works. In my theory means that the invisible timer hasn't started yet. So I wait until the gargoyle's in position so that as when I'm jumping across these platforms, I can kill it, or as like while I'm jumping up, I can kill it. So that way I'm not slowing down at all to kill the gargoyle. I'm just making the fastest possible beeline I can for the turret to intercept its shots. And then the fifth turret is very easy to deal with. You just get into position to intercept the fireballs, and you're home free. So that's 9-2. A lot of variation there, and I'm kind of shocked actually that I got such a great... That 9-2 was literally perfect. Like, the turrets that could have shot late, so I could go fast. And then I just got through it, like, perfectly. That was literally, like, a flawless 9-2. I don't think I could have possibly improved that at all. I think I hesitated a little here and there, but that was, like, that was smart to make sure I had the right patterns. And now we get to 9-3, the 60-second long, boring-ass auto-scroller that makes level 9 take forever. I've become much less charitable towards this stage the more I play the game, which makes sense, because auto-scrollers at the highest level of play are very annoying, because you want to go fast and you can't, and you just have to do a lot of waiting. What you can do on this stage, though, if you want, is you can treat 9-3 like 7B, and you can use this as an opportunity to clear your sub-weapon, because these skeletons are bulky enough that if you kill them with the holy water, they're pretty much guaranteed to drop an item. I didn't do that here just because, like, well, it didn't end up being necessary for one thing. This was an important moment, because when I had to wait for that dagger to despawn, I was actually, like, off of the rhythm of how I usually go through this stage. And I had to decide what to do here, and I decided to just jump up and hope I got out of the way of the fuzzball in time. I ultimately did. It doesn't look scary, but it felt super scary, because I wasn't sure if that 2-second delay waiting for the dagger to despawn would, like, mess with my movement through the rest of the stage, but I still end up getting through the stage as quickly as possible, finishing it as early as possible, so it's all good. And now I'm not worried about sub-weapons, basically, for the rest of the route. But now we get to 9-4, and if you thought the previous areas that could screw you over with sub-weapons were bad, this is like the ultimate, like, you really don't want to be due for a sub-weapon here. This is like a nightmare, what I'm watching right now. Hopefully the problems should become apparent based on everything else I've talked about in this run, but you're dealing with water that's constantly pushing you around, random fishman spawns, and birds that have random behavior patterns. So this is how many times can I say the word nightmare? Like, nightmare doesn't even begin to encompass it. Fortunately, everything here pretty much works out. But I'm going to go through this and explain, like, what's going on here. So the first bird swoops down pretty early, and I'm able to get him with the holy water. The second bird decides to fuck around for a long time, and again, I can't ignore him. Like, if I just keep moving forward and try to, like, keep going, then I'm gonna start the fishmen spawns again, because when you're around this waterfall, the fishmen don't spawn anymore, so, like, this is a good spot to kill the birds, so I can't keep going. I have to just wait for him to finish fucking around. And then here I get lucky, because if a fishman spawns behind you, here, you can just keep jumping forward and ignore him. And then I go forward enough that he despawns, he doesn't get a chance to shoot the fireball. And then I wait here and hope this guy swoops low, because if he does, I can jump forward and intercept him with holy water. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And here I take kind of a risk, because there's two options here. You can try to jump across the pit and hit the bird with the holy water at the same time, or you can, like, stay in this spot and wait to see what the bird does and, like, react accordingly by try to control the fishman with holy water and, like, watch to see what the bird does. Here I just said fuck it and went for it, and fortunately the bird was low enough that the holy water was barely able to hit it. But that was actually kind of a big risk. You're taking a risk no matter what is the problem, because if you do the jump and you don't kill the bird, now you're stuck next to the staircase while the bird is messing around and while the fishmen are shooting fireballs at you, which is bad. But if you stay next to the waterfall, now you're, like, stuck in the water, and there's a bird messing around, and there's, like, random fishmen spawning coming towards you, so it's, like, bad no matter what. So I just picked the I picked the bad with the greater chance of getting through it quickly. And here, the reason I'm walking instead of jumping is because I know that a fishman is supposed to spawn up here, but he takes forever to do it, and I end up losing more time. This spot is so fucking hard to do correctly, because I don't know if I've made this clear. When the bird swoops, you don't know how low he's going to go. You don't know if he's going to aim towards your feet, or aim towards your head, or aim towards your chest, or aim towards your sternum, or your solar plexus, or whatever. He could aim at anything. So you don't know, like right here in this moment, I don't know, should I jump forward? If I jump in place here, I'm going to die because the fishman's fireball is going to hit me. So I have to jump forward and throw the holy water based on the assumption that he's going to swoop low enough that he gets hit by it. It barely misses him. Now I've got a fireball coming towards me that I have to turn towards and intercept, and this bird is still coming at me. Fortunately, I intercept him with that second holy water throw. I kill the fishman, and then the last bird just decides to fuck off to his home dimension, and I never have to actually kill it. That can happen sometimes with these upper birds. These last two birds can sometimes just fly off into the top of the sky and despawn. And that one luckily did that, but like, I don't even know if it's possible to convey without actually playing the game how slippery and dangerous and frustrating this particular area is with these two birds, and you're being pushed around, and there's like a fishman behind you shooting fireballs at you, and there are these birds doing all this random shit, and you don't know what they're going to do. And 9-4 is like 5C in terms of the time swing it can provide, but like 100 times worse because you have to deal with more birds with random patterns. And then I get a bad Medusa head pattern. The Medusa heads here can spawn to the left or the right. If they spawn to the left, you have to wait and kill them. So all in all, that 9-4 could have been a lot worse, but there's kind of no such thing as a good 9-4. Like a 9-4 is almost impossible to see. So, but that one, like, that was like a perfect 9-2 and then a 9-4 that didn't really give me too many problems, so I can't complain about that at all. That's a really good level 9 overall. Despite all my complaining, I'm mostly complaining about 9-4 as like a concept, as opposed to that particular 9-4. Because that particular 9-4 was actually pretty smooth. So now it's the last level of the game. My goal here is to get the axe, get a lot of hearts, and get to Dracula with a double shot. This first part is helped immensely by visual cues. I just jump and kill this guy as soon as I see him. Then here I wait until like my foot is lined up with that that space between those two bricks in the background, those two yellow bricks in the background. Wait till my foot's like right here. Then I jump, wait a bit, then whip. So that way I'm like whipping as I'm getting carried forward in my jump. And then I do exactly the same thing here, looking for the same visual cue. Jump, wait a bit, then whip, so I'm whipping as I'm going forward in the air, and then that's all the birds taken care of. I used to really like freak myself out about those birds and like super slow play to kill them, but it's really not necessary. You will almost always be able to catch them before they even have a chance to like do any of their dumb bullshit. So the name of the game in A1 is reducing lag, because in the JP version of the game, this part of this auto-scroller will lag horrendously if the Medusa heads are on the screen. So even though there's nothing else to do in this level, there's no hearts, there's no torches in this version of the game, you just make sure that the Medusa heads despawn as quickly as possible by staying towards the top of the screen, because the way this works is that the Medusa heads will spawn at the same altitude you're at. So that's why at the very start here, I go up here and I stay like as high as I can, so that way they despawn as quickly as possible. It's both good because that way you don't have to worry about them, and it's good because it reduces lag. So this is pretty basic, extremely consistent. Really no way to mess this up. I wait over here, and then yeah, it's very, very simple. So this is where things get interesting, because I can't these turrets are in a very like difficult spot if you're trying to not get hit. And also I want hearts. So I use the time that I spend on the stairs waiting for the fireballs to go past to kill those few torches, intercept the fireballs, And that axe throw there is to kill the bat. And what's nice here is that I'm so far over to the right that I know the bat's going to spawn on the left every time. So I jump, throw axe, kill the bat, jump, whip to kill the turret. For some reason the turret goes down in 3 hits, no idea why. And then another one of these. That looks really scary. Like, why, like isn't the turret going to hit me? And the answer is no, because it shoots 1 fireball, and then the hit stun from the axe keeps it in place long enough that I can start hitting it with the whip, and the whip's hit stun prevents it from shooting the second fireball. So that's actually pretty safe, even though it looks really scary. One of the most important things about the Belmont whip in a lot of the Castlevania games is the hit stun that it provides, because that really incentivizes aggression. It means you get very heavily rewarded for attacking, instead of like sitting there and like waiting for shit to happen. I have my hearts, I have my double shot, and I'm all ready to go see Dracula. And in the JP version of the game, there are no bats in this stage. In the US version, there are bats. In US Second Quest, there's like double bat spawns, which I think is a little bit excessive, but US Second Quest was designed as punishment for the Americans. So I guess if I'm complaining, then that means that it accomplished its job. But in the JP version, this area is just like for atmosphere, for building the drama. Now, Dracula in the JP version is easy, basically. Even in the context of like a no-hit, like optimized run, he's just a lot easier. The only thing that's tricky is that he cycles through his pattern in phase 1 a lot faster than he does in the US version, so you can't really kill him in one phase, which is what you would do in the US version. Actually, I think you technically can. I think you can one phase him here, like kill him before he teleports, but it's like really hard. So instead I go for a 2-phase. The only part about this that's tricky is to hit him with these 2 axes as he's standing up, and I have a specific visual cue for that. I wait until I'm like standing over this particular seam in the floor, and then I jump and I throw the axes. They both hit him. Throw 2 more axes, jump, or move, jump, whip. Then jump, whip, 2 more axes, another whip, and he's done. So the only tricky part really there is the beginning. Boom. Now phase 2 is hard to do efficiently. It's pretty easy to do without getting hit generally, because there's a funny little quirk of the JP version, which is that if you duck next to the chair, then this thing can't hit you. Like the little like blood attack that he does there won't do any damage to you. But I don't want to do that. I just want to kill him really fast. And there's an important detail here that I want to point out. So because I can't kill him before he teleports. So this thing is always gonna spawn in the center of the room like this. And I hit it as it's moving away, but then like what's important here is that I stay I move towards where it's moving, so that way it's like still moving into me as I'm setting up attacks, and I'm killing the faces that are closer to me first, so that way I can stand like closer to this thing to kill it more efficiently. Because you'll notice I jump like into, like once these things don't have skin on them anymore, you're not going to get hit by them. Like look, I'm right inside all these skulls, and I'm not taking any damage. So that was the thing that took me a while to figure out. My impulse for a long time was to try to run under him at some point. Like I'd try to run under him like right here, and then keep attacking him as he was moving away from me, but that's not really the smart play. The smart play is to try to kill him as he's moving towards you, because that way you kill like the closer faces first, and then the more faces you kill, the less you have to move to get away from him. So just kind of a weird little detail there. There's a couple of different ways you can do phase 3. I choose to do it like this because I think it's slightly faster and it's slightly easier. The way phase 3 works, the simplest version I can give to you, is that you want to kill him before that platform on the right completely merges with the ground again. Because if it does, then a second set of platforms will spawn, and the orb that ends the game won't spawn until the platforms are all like back in the floor. So even if I kill him like 1 frame after this happens, then I have to wait like another 12 seconds for the second set of platforms to like fly all around the room and then get back in the floor before the game's actually over. So you want to kill him before this happens. And here I kill him like way before. When does the last axe hit? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Over a quarter of a second before, which doesn't sound like much, but in this that's a pretty comfortable margin. Because you got to do this shit fast, generally. So what I do here is for the first 7 axes, I just stay on these platforms and throw in like a sort of consistent rhythm. What's tricky about the JP version is that because I'm going is that in the US version I would go in here and I would have triple shot axes. But in the JP version, double shot axes means you can only have 2 axes on the screen at a time, so you have to be careful not to try to throw axes too fast or else you'll mess up your rhythm. And because the margins are so tight for this fight, you can't afford to like try to throw an axe and then accidentally swing your whip instead. Then I fall off the platform after 7 axe throws. And then jump to start throwing 4 more. 1, 2, and then 3. On the 4th one, I jump over this laser, and now I'm perfectly in position to do the last 6 hits to him. I wait down here, right next to this left hand, until the laser has spawned, because once the laser spawns, that means it's like decided where it's going to shoot, and here I know it's going to shoot straight down, so I'm safe to jump up and keep hitting him. And then he dies. And there's a couple of different ways to do this phase. There's one way that involves like getting underneath him and like jumping back and forth without ever standing on the platforms for too long, but I don't really like... That's what I do in the US version, because in the US version you have to, but that one involves a lot of like quick turnarounds, which can kind of mess you up. This way though, you never have to like quick turn around to do something. You do there, but that's pretty lenient timing. It's harder in the US version, trust me, you're gonna see it. So let me just for the sake of entertainment, let's just watch this whole thing all back from the start. Because this was a pretty good Dracula fight. Not exactly what I would want, but phase 1 was pretty much textbook. Phase 2 wasn't perfect, but it's really hard to get a perfect phase 2. Because you need things to like die at the right time, and also the sooner you kill his faces, the less lag he'll generate. Because all those blood projectiles, you'll notice they generate a ton of lag, which is bad because it slows the game down, which is like bad in the speedrun context, but it's also bad because it messes up your like muscle memory, and things don't happen when you expect them to happen relative to the button that you press. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1. Okay, wait, hang on a sec. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Wait. 1, 2, 3. All right. Whew, man, a lot of acrobatics, a lot of little specific moments of waiting here and there in this run. Some of which I'm okay with, because they're part of strategies, some of which were annoying because they were to avoid sub-weapon drops, but that's the run. That's Ralph only, no damage. Dracula's Curse, JP. Kind of a fun run to do. It's interesting because really like one of the most interesting thing about Dracula's Curse are the companions, really. So taking away the companions takes away a major element of what makes the game interesting, but it can also, if you're like me and you've played the game so much and you get used to doing like the Sypha route with Sypha or Grant, it's interesting to see the different, you have to approach problems differently with Trevor. And that sounds like obvious and it sounds common sense, but there's a lot of little things that Sypha and especially Grant do for you that if you get used to playing with those characters, you can start to take that for granted. And you're like, oh yeah, if I'm playing Ralph, I have to actually play 7B, I have to actually play 6C. And if you don't have Sypha, you have to like... You just have to approach everything differently. And what's nice about it is that you don't have to worry about... What's nice about it in the context of like a speed run or a timed run, or when we're going for particular times, you don't have to worry about time loss from swapping to a companion when you don't have to. You're just like, you don't have a choice. You have to have Ralph out the whole time. So in that sense, it kind of takes the pressure off because you're not worried about making a wrong decision in that vein. But you know, it is obviously much less interesting to play the game. I know I just said that it was interesting to play the game without companions, but it's kind of like what it really feels like though is it feels like a lot more of a challenge. Because I think Dracula's Curse was really designed with the companions in mind. And some people say like what's the hardest Castlevania game? Some people say Dracula's Curse, some people say Chronicles original mode, or aka X68000. I would say Chronicles original mode is far and away harder than Dracula's Curse. Specifically because in that game there are no companions to help you with all of the insane unfair difficulty. So when you go into this game with just Trevor, you're like you're left without all of these tools that I think the game is really designed around. So it feels like much more of a brutal challenge, which has its own kind of appeal to it. Anyway, that's the last of the JP normal mode runs. I think I'm going to upload the US normal mode runs next. I haven't 100% decided yet. It's either going to be that or the JP hard mode, but I think it's going to be the US normal mode. So keep your eyes out for those. Those should be interesting and also maybe more relevant. I don't know if people have played more of one or the other of these different versions. I guess I'll find out. Anyway, that's coming up next. Hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry for the weird cut partway through. And as always, keep on Earth rocking.